Welcome to the second part of the life story of the most powerful pharaonic queen Hatshepsut. Historians and engineers to this day admire the ability of the Egyptians to transfer these two obelisks from Aswan to Luxor, exactly in front of the edifice that Queen Hatshepsut built in the Karnak temple, a few meters from the edifice, and engineers are still developing theories for the way the ancient Egyptian engineer used to do this mighty work. One piece of stone weighing more than 1,000 tons to be placed in the Karnak temple, but the ancient Egyptian engineers left it after they discovered a crack in it that prevented its use. Tourists from all over the world are currently visiting to witness the miracle of this incompletely equipped obelisk in the Aswan quarry and ask themselves how the ancient Egyptians wanted to transfer this giant obelisk to the Karnak temple. This can be seen in the Aswan quarry and is now called military campaigns. The prevailing in the era of Hatshepsut was peace, prosperity, and prosperity of trade movement with neighboring countries. It was not inclined to the policy of foreign invasion, but recorded some few military campaigns during her reign, most of which came as disciplinary campaigns in addition to one military campaign recorded from the reign of Hatshepsut carried out by Thutmose III, which is the seizure of Gaza, and that was near the end of its rule. Some manuscripts, such as a manuscript found in the cemetery of Sammut, disclosed disciplinary campaigns in Nubia and some other countries that were under Egyptian authority. A disciplinary campaign against Nubia at the beginning of its rule was carried out by Hatshepsut, and this was mentioned in a manuscript of the head of the treasury Tij. A disciplinary campaign against Syria and Palestine, according to a manuscript in Deir el-Bahari, in addition to a campaign against a rebellion in Nubia. Campaign against a rebellion in Nubia in the year 20 of her reign. A disciplinary campaign against Mao near the Band district between the 20th and 22nd years of his reign. The secret of the appearance of Hatshepsut in the clothes of the male pharaohs. Hatshepsut did not want to innovate in the appearance of the ruling pharaoh, which people have been familiar with for many decades. Although at the beginning of her rule she was depicted as a woman in full adornment, but later on she became an example of the strong and muscular pharaoh who wears a false beard. She began to wear clothes similar to the clothes of those who preceded her of the pharaohs, men in official ceremonies, as they appeared in some of their statues with a borrowed chin, as is customary in the statues of the pharaohs. Although this did not diminish the fact that Hatshepsut possessed all the characteristics of a beautiful female. She was of a pleasant burgundy complexion, a slightly hooked nose and a round face. She loved flowers, gardens, trees, and everything with a colorful scent. Was there a love story between the queen and the engineer Senmut? We Will Die was an exciting mystery in the life of Hatshepsut, the engineer who built her famous temple in Deir el-Bahari, who gave him 80 titles, and who was responsible for raising and educating her daughter, the little princess, in the afterlife as he was close to her in this world. As for her, she appreciated his genius and the strength of his character to the extent that she allowed him to build his tomb in the precincts of her temple to be adjacent to it in his death as he used to do in this world. And if the historian's hints indicate that there is a state of love that brought the two together, We Will Die in Hatshepsut after the death of her husband, but this is not certain, and it may be just a relationship of mutual respect. And the royal engineer was the one who built Hatshepsut, the most beautiful funerary temple built for a queen in history, whether ancient or modern. It is the Deir el-Bahari temple, which he built in the bosom of the western mountain. It was built with royal white limestone brought from Tura and in the form of 3 halls one above the other, so that the spirit of the queen could ascend it and ascend to the sky to perpetuate with the stars. Hatshepsut died on the 10th of the 2nd month of the autumn season, which corresponds to during the 22nd year of her reign, as stated in a writing on a tablet found in Amun. The mummy of Hatshepsut has been verified that the signs of her death are signs of a natural death and that the cause of her death was due to cancer or diabetes. Hatshepsut's tomb is located in the Valley of the Kings and is symbolized by the number KV20. Perhaps Hatshepsut expanded her father's tomb to be used, and her coffin was found next to her father's sarcophagus. Recently, the mummy of Queen Hatshepsut was taken a picture in which she appears with a dreamy and meek smile as if he had performed his message to the fullest and finally rested, and the funny thing in the picture is that the queen had beautiful soft, colored hair that appears clearly in the picture as well, and this indicates that the science of mummification that the ancient Egyptians created a great secret if discovered it may change the manifestations of burial in the entire world. Whatever the matter of Queen Hatshepsut, she is one of the few women in the ancient world who reached the top of the administration in their country. She made every effort to convince the man during her reign to accept her as a woman ruling him, and whether Hatshepsut convinced the men in Egypt at that time to rule her or not, convince them, for what you did was much greater than what some male kings did. Hatshepsut was the 5th pharaoh of the 18th dynasty in ancient Egypt, considered by Egyptologists to be one of the most successful pharaohs, holding the title longer than any other woman in the Egyptian dynasties, whose reign was distinguished by the strength of the army, construction activity, and sea voyages. The great woman who sent her to trade with neighboring countries, and she is the eldest daughter of the pharaoh of Egypt, King Thutmose I. and her mother is Queen Amos, and her father, the king, had given birth to an illegitimate son, Thutmose II, and she accepted marriage to him, according to the custom of royal families, to jointly participate in the ruling after his death. And that was a solution to the problem of having a legitimate heir. Thank you for watching, and do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to receive all new from us.